Johnny, you have a little story to tell. I know at the men's conference, I was in and out, but I was told that you had a touching story because I have a couple people who just told me that this reinvigorated their faith to be more bold at work or at home. And I think that that was pretty much the case with most of us. But you have a story to tell us about that?
Yeah, one of the saints that I'm very fond of, because I knew of him about 20 years ago, before he really became a saint.
Yeah.
He was this young boy, Jose Sanchez de Rio, and they call him a hero for Christ the King. He was from the same city that my wife was born and raised in.
Wow.
This is why I know of this boy, because everything that happened in 1928 when he got killed, and he was martyred, he was actually killed for his faith in Jesus Christ. All of these things happened right where my wife, Luz Maria Romero, grew up.
Wow.
She grew up there in the same neighborhood. And when I went to go visit her family when we were going to get married, I found out about this boy before he was canonized by the Catholic Church. And I saw the handwritten letter with my own eyes that he wrote to his own mother.
Wow.
About when he was going to, and this is basically, Terry, the federal government was persecuting the church. It's very similar to what's starting to happen here.
Of course it is.
This was less than yes. They come after the church first.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do.
The federal government and different organizations and different people, they start attacking the church, which is what we're doing. We're the first ones being attacked by the Dodgers here. And what ends up happening is they want to, not practice our faith. We become ridiculed. We become pushed aside. We're not allowed to pray in public. We're not allowed to practice our faith. And this is where it begins. It begins with this attack on our faith. Anyway, this 14-year-old boy, Terry, he said, not on my watch. I will not allow this. He witnessed his parish priest being killed because they closed the churches down. The parish priest, they took bolt cutters, they cut the bolts off, and they continued to have mass. And the federal government got so upset, they said, "You think we're kidding?" The federal government started sending soldiers over and started kicking in the doors when they were having mass and pulled out the priest and shot him in front of everybody to send a signal that we're serious about this. You cannot practice your faith, period. And there was a revolution that started. About 90,000 people died, but this boy was one of the ones that was the key people. He went and he joined the resistance, Terry, as a 14-year-old boy.
Amazing.
They allowed him to clean the weapons.
Yep.
They allowed him to pray with them. They allowed him to serve the meals. And then the general said, this boy is so brave. He allowed him to carry the banner that said, "Viva Cristo Rey," in one of the most key battles. The 14-year-old boy who knew how to ride a horse, he carried the banner that said, "Long live Christ the King."
Amen. Yes.
And he was shot. The general, one of the generals that was close to him, had his horse shot, and the general lost his horse. And the general was so important that Jose Luis jumped off, told the general, "Here, come over here, get my horse." And he jumped off his own horse and told the general to get on. And the general jumped on the horse, and then the general said, "Jose, come on the horse." He said, "No, I'm going to slow you down. I'm going to slow you down. I'm good. I'll hide. Go, General. Viva Cristo Rey." And he picked up the general's weapon that he dropped, and he started providing cover fire. He provided cover fire to the enemy so that the enemy would hide behind rocks and allowed the general and some of the other men to get away.
Wow.
And he saved their lives.
Yes.
Not only by giving them his horse, by actually providing cover fire. And then when he ran out of ammunition, he was captured. But even in his capture...
Oh, this is amazing. It gets even better. Go ahead.
Yes, they tried to get him to sign with them.
Yes.
Look, sign this document that Jesus Christ is dead, and you're going to join our army. You can be a great soldier for us. And he just said, "Hey, I'm not on your side. Get away from me. Long live Christ the King. I would never join your side. Your side is evil. Your side is with the devil."
What an
he
inspiration.
continued to do this.
Yes.
He was imprisoned, and then he was imprisoned in the church that my wife grew up going to church at.
Wow.
And then that's where I saw his bones, and that's where I saw the letter. This courage, this bravery that this boy showed. We need to imitate this virtues of this young saint, the fortitude, the valor, the faith, the sanctity of this boy, his holy audacity, his hope and his charity to his captors. He was even telling people as they were going to kill him, I forgive you. You do not know what you're doing. I forgive you. You don't know what you're doing. You're on the wrong side. I'll pray for you. So he had this kind of maturity, even as a 14-year-old boy, and this kind of courage, the kind of courage that is so sorely lacking right now, Terry, within our Catholics, within the clergy, within our whole church. We have a lot of people that are overcome by fear. They're overcome by fear, Terry. Can I read the letter that he wrote?
Oh, yeah, those letters are inspirational. Go for it, brother.
Yeah, so he said, Dear Mom, I was made a prisoner in battle today. I think I will die soon. But I do not care, Mother. Resign yourself to the will of God. I will die happy because I die on the side of our God. Do not worry about my death, which would mortify me. Tell my brothers to follow the example that their youngest brother leaves them and to do the will of God. Have courage and send me your blessing along with my father's blessing. Send my regards to everyone one last time. And finally receive the heart of your son, who loves you so much and who wanted to see you before dying. Jose Sanchez de Rio. I saw that letter in his own handwriting over 20 years ago when I was there, before anybody knew about this boy. I saw that letter, and I saw his bones there. And this is what he said when he died, if I'm allowed to.
Go for it. We got time, brother.
At the very end here. So as he was being a federal officer, when they cut the bottom of the soles of his feet off so that he was kind of like skinned. But they took about a half an inch off of the bottom of his feet, and they were bleeding, and they made him walk chained up to the cemetery, which was a walk, probably about a mile or so. A mile and a half, maybe. And he walked over there to the hole in the cemetery, and the federal officer, he says when he gets there, you have done a lot to me, but God still allows me to live. When I can no longer speak, I will wiggle my feet, because as he got there, they began to hit him. They began to kill him, to beat him. And one of the soldiers, when he asked, where is the plot? He didn't want any of the soldiers to touch him. One of the soldiers suddenly swung his rifle around, and he broke Jose's jaw with the butt of his rifle. Without hesitation, the soldiers began to attack him. One of them stabbed him in the neck and in the chest and in the back with knives. And at every stab, Jose was proclaiming the name of Christ the King at the top of his lungs. He was saying, forever live Christ the King, viva Cristo Rey. And as he was dying, he made a big cross in the dirt. As the blood filled that cross, a federal officer approached the dying and bleeding boy on the ground and asked him in a sarcastic tone, what do you want us to tell your father? Jose answered, tell my father that I will see him in heaven. Viva Cristo Rey and the Virgen of Guadalupe. Overtaken by anger, the officer grabbed his gun, and as Jose was bleeding out there, only had about 2 or 3 more minutes to live, the officer grabbed his gun and shot Jose behind the ear. And Jose at that moment won the crown of martyrdom.
Yes.
They tossed his body into the grave, and much more can be said, Terry.
Oh, it's touching.
What an inspiration.
Yeah, and Jesse, here's what we're doing now. We're not even being shot at, okay? We're standing up in public places to pray the rosary, pray out and reparation, making it public that we Catholics, we're not going to put up with the persecution without responding proportionately. And what I mean by proportionate is not shooting these people, but by praying for their conversion. Of course, that's the proportionate measure we're using. We're stopping them with our prayers and our sacrifices, not just stopping them. We're praying for their conversion, all of our conversions. Because remember, Our Lady of Fatima said it well. Souls are going to hell because no one is there to pray and sacrifice. At Dodger Stadium, on Friday, thousands of Catholics came to say their prayers and make a sacrifice and to make reparation for these sacrileges, which I think you have to have supernatural faith, like that little boy that you just talked about. His faith was so supernatural that he was willing to give his last drop of blood for his faith. And that, to me, is very inspirational.